Good morning, this is Grassroots Rising, and I'm your host, Jimmy Skogard. Today I'm going to talk about coffee shop politics. The coffee shop is where the rubber meets the road in our politics. It's one of the last ordinary places where public life still happens without a stage, without handlers, and without a script. Trust is built here, or it's broken here. While we're drinking coffee, maybe a hard conversation breaks out. Lately I've seen both. There's tension in the air now. Even in places that once felt simple, a person walks in carrying more than a phone or a laptop. A person carries headlines, clips, warnings, rumors, and fear. Some of us sit down already convinced that somebody is always watching, always listening, always plotting. And the truth is this: that fear is not accidental. It is fed to us day after day until suspicion starts to feel like wisdom. Franklin Delano Roosevelt reminded us that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That line still matters because fear remains one of the oldest tools of control. Sit in a coffee shop long enough and you can watch the fear move from a screen into a conversation, and then from a conversation into a human heart. I found myself in one of those moments recently. What began as a conversation at the table turned tense when another man nearby joined in. Before long, he was talking about Muslims, as if millions of human beings could be shoved into one bucket and judged as a single threat. His words came fast, sharp, and certain, and as he talked, I watched him from the corner of my eye. He kept clicking through posts on his laptop, one outrage after another, as if each one was adding fuel to a fire already burning in his mind. That was the part that struck me most. He was not really speaking to the people in front of him anymore. He was speaking out of a script that had already been loaded into him. A machine had fed his distrust, his fear, his anger, long before he opened his mouth in that room. I tried to point out the obvious truth. Human beings are not buckets. A label is not life. A category is not a person. But by that point, the room was already slipping. When words on a screen start to matter more than the humanity of the person sitting a few feet away, the center starts to give. The conversation broke open. The person across from him called him a bigot. He fired back. Voices rose. The room tightened. Everybody in earshot felt it. I sat there in the middle of it, feeling that old civic ache. This is what happens when fear outruns trust. This is what happens when outrage enters the room before curiosity does. The coffee shop, which ought to be a place where we can test ideas and listen to one another, became one more battlefield. Eventually I got up and left. It was not a grand act. It was not a speech. It was just a quiet exit. And in that moment, it helped de-escalate the scene. The meeting ended because the center could not hold. That is the part that has stayed with me. If we want common ground, we have to find a way to stay at the table without letting the shouting take over. That's hard work. It takes patience. It takes discipline. It takes the willingness to come back again and again. One conversation will not undo weeks, months, or years of fear-driven programming. It takes repeated contact with real people. It takes steady truth spoken plainly. It takes courage to sit in the room long enough for the temperature to come down. That is why I keep coming back to the same conviction. We are the fourth branch of government. Too often, we look for a representative who makes us feel good about ourselves. I want us to think differently. I want us to choose representatives who feel accountable to us, who listen well enough to know us, and who have the character to act on our will with integrity. Not perfect. No perfect candidate exists. Human beings are fallible. But a representative with humility, discipline, and character can do the job well. And the job begins with listening. Right now we have the tools to do more than guess what our communities believe. We can gather real input. We can ask real questions. We can map the concerns of our neighbors and watch how those concerns change over time. We can build systems that help a representative hear the constituency instead of hiding behind doors, consultants, or party machinery. The technology exists. The real question is whether we have the will to use it. That's the challenge in front of us. The coffee shop matters because it's where the work begins. It begins in the ordinary places where real people sit across from one another and try to make sense of the world. It begins when we refuse to let fear have the final word. It begins when we choose patient conversation over easy contempt. Our strength does not come from hiding. Our strength comes from stepping into the light of day, speaking honestly, listening carefully, and standing together at the coffee shop and at the ballot box. If trust has ever broken down at your table, in your coffee shop, or in your own family, then it's time to rise. Start one honest conversation. Stay in the room a little longer. Help build the kind of public life where the center can hold. Join the movement at ScoGuard2026.org. Thank you for listening today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.